back once again, listeners, to WTMI Radio. My name is Ginger Rogers, host of Parents as Advocates. Today we are talking with Dannelle Walker. She is General Counsel for the Tennessee State Board of Education. Simply put, she prosecutes teachers who do bad things. She is going to talk to us about educator sexual misconduct and what we as parents can do to prevent it. Please welcome Mrs. Walker to the show. Dannelle?
Thank you, Ginger. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I always love going out and trying to do more parent engagement and letting them know and understand sort of the issues in educator sexual misconduct and what they can do to prevent it. As you mentioned, of course, I am General Counsel for the State Board of Education, and I do prosecute teachers. It's an unfortunate part of my job, but when I hear these cases, when I prosecute these cases, I understand that someone has to do this. Someone has to be protecting the kids in public schools. So I consider it sort of a benefit and a burden at the same time, because I know that I'm taking people's livelihoods. I work again for the State Board of Education. It's a 9-member board one person from each congressional district in Tennessee, and they are also charged with the dispensation of licenses for teachers, and so that's how I come in and work with these cases. There are state board rules that govern what a teacher does to lose his or her licenses, and they're not always sexual, but conviction of a felony, falsification of credentials, also cheating on TCAP tests, things of that nature. But again, we're going to hone in on educator sexual misconduct, and I just wanted to pull out some different things that I learned in prosecuting these cases, some common themes, and again point to what I can garner as what parents can do to prevent these types of things. Now again, this is not going to be the magic panacea for all issues, because we know that there are some educators out there, or there are some people out there who get into the teaching profession to specifically prey on students. But there are people who fall into these categories of just happenstance and a series of bad decisions, and so I want to help parents understand how they can sort of combat these types of things. One of the things that I notice in these cases is grooming, and grooming is sort of defined as the process of lulling a kid to get to do things that they would not ordinarily do. And so that looks like sometimes providing gifts for the child, giving the child extra attention, sending messages just saying, hey, I was just thinking about you, that type of thing. And on the surface, it doesn't seem like it's really that bad, but eventually it makes the child feel like they can trust the adult, and then the child then is coerced into doing acts that they would not ordinarily. So I would say for parents, one of my cases, a parent was very proactive and noticed that the teacher was sending messages telling the kid that he loved the child and things like that. And so the parent said, hey, stop sending my child these emails. And without that proactivity from the parent, then there is no telling how far it would have gone. Also, I would say monitor the amount of time that the child is spending alone with the teacher, because a lot of times, especially in instances of coaching, band, art, where they're alone with the teacher, then certain things happen. So what I would say is not necessarily be paranoid, but be aware of the times, and oftentimes ask if your child is in an extracurricular activity, just say, hey, can I sit in on this practice, just so that the teacher is aware that this parent is on top of things and is not the type to just let things go unnoticed. Also, notice changes in the child's behavior. If the child is wanting to be isolated, closing the door where they're ordinarily being outspoken and wanting to be involved in the family atmosphere. Ask questions, when they get home, what did you do today? Did anything happen? Tell me about your friends, anything, just be proactive in asking questions. And then also just be aware of any sort of text messages. For instance, if I had a child that was in an extracurricular activity, and I would probably tell the coach or band teacher, hey, if you're going to text my child, just send a copy of the text message to me. It may be one of those annoying things, but a good teacher knows that what they say to that child, they can say to anyone, and so they should not be angry with you making that request. There are a lot of laws out here. There are criminal laws that protect a child from this type of behavior, and also the State Board of Education has a role in making sure that educators who engage in misconduct no longer have teaching licenses. That's sort of the overview, and I'll happy to entertain questions from you or any callers that we have.
Okay, listeners, we're going to open the phones right now. If anybody comes up with any questions and they'd like to give us a call, the number is 566-8781. Again, that's 566-8781. So the questions that I have for you, Dannelle, are, first of all, what is the most memorable case of educator sexual misconduct that you've seen?
Well, unfortunately, I've seen a lot, but one of the ones that sticks out to me is this young lady that actually had graduated and she sent a letter to the principal saying, hey, this happened to me while I was at school and I'm just now feeling comfortable to tell. And the teacher had been giving her boots, and I mentioned the grooming process. He would give her like these knee-high boots with the heels, and he would tell her, wear those boots because I like to see you in them. And she would wear them and she would think, oh, she would enjoy the compliments from him. And eventually it turned to, don't wear anything when you're wearing these boots. And eventually they ended up, having intercourse. So that was one of those things where the principal, in investigating, found this online chat room, and someone from years back said, hey, do you remember that crazy teacher who used to give boots to females? So they found out it was not just her. It had been several students that he was doing this to.
Wow, I was not aware of that. Can a parent report educator sexual misconduct to the State Board of Education, or a student? Who actually does the reporting on these?
Well, by rule, a director of schools is required to report any instances where a teacher is fired or suspended or resigns based upon these allegations. So that's the first line of required reporting. But a parent can always call the State Board of Education and say, I suspect that these things have occurred. We will look into them, and definitely if we find that there are enough facts to move forward with the case, we will open up an investigation and then proceed from there.
What kinds of proof are required, and who provides those? Do the FBI and TBI get involved, or?
Well, typically because it's a small staff, usually at the State Board of Education, it's just me that's doing the investigating and the prosecuting. So what happens if there is a criminal conviction, I will wait until that criminal conviction occurs, and so I'm using then whatever local police and local courts have as far as resources in them prosecuting the case, because it's easier if I have a conviction than to turn it over to the judge that's hearing my case and saying, hey, here's a conviction. But if I'm doing it on my own without a conviction, I'll take student witness statements. I'll look for documents, and a lot of times I rely heavily on the school system to provide anything that they've done, because typically once it gets to me, they've already terminated the teacher or suspended the teacher, and they've gone through their own investigation. And so I'll ask for those documents from that investigation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Let's see if we've got any calls coming in.
Hello. I was just wondering about how many cases of these do you either get reported, get investigated, get prosecuted to your office, say in an average school year?
In an average school year, I have about 30 reports of educator sexual misconduct. It usually starts with some sort of online communication or text message, and then through investigation, the board meets quarterly to take actions on these licenses. So at every board meeting, there are about 5 or 6 cases that actually go towards the actual revocation. So that's roughly about 30 a year.
Thank you. See if we have any other calls.
Thanks for taking my call. Do you deal with any cases in colleges, or is it all like K through 12?
It's only K through 12 public education. If a teacher is licensed, even if the teacher is in a private school but licensed by the State Board of Education, then we can still take action
we have one more caller.
Thank you for taking my call as well. You're doing great work, and I appreciate what you're doing for the state of Tennessee. What is the youngest child that you've unfortunately come across that has been approached in a situation like this with an educator?
The youngest child that I've come across has been 6 years old. It's unfortunate and sad, of course, but the odd thing is I see more cases in middle school and high school, and I see less cases in elementary, but I worry it's because they coerce them to not say anything. So I think that is a point to tell parents to be even more proactive when the kids are younger and just watch for extra behaviors. Like if you notice that your child knows something sexually that they should have no exposure to, if they're acting out certain things when they're around their peers, that may be a red flag for you to look into it even more.
Thank you. This is riveting. I could go on all night. Do we have any other calls? Okay, it doesn't look like there are any others. Appreciate you coming here and letting us know the good work that the state is doing. I did not know really that this was going on except for the stuff that you see in the news. I had no idea it was the 30th year. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
If parents have any questions, I work for the State Board of Education, but I'm happy to take any calls because we want to help parents. So my phone number at work is 615-253-5707. I'm sure we'll post that on your website. Also, my email address is dannelle.walker@tn.gov. So if any parents have any questions, I'm also happy to go out and do more community advocacy and talking to parent groups. So anytime, just let me know.
Great, thank you for coming. We appreciate your time.